Yeah, we see a lot of pricing data. Just our 2 cents on this. This is called what? It's price elasticity of demand, and it's a fascinating topic for the app economy. We are seeing across the board prices are trending to zero. It's almost a race to the bottom. You can charge for your application if Apple's putting it out there. That happens to the lucky few. That's like the Conan O'Brien follows one person on Twitter effect. You're not all going to get that. So you need to think about, as far as pricing, also consider the free models, because that's what you're up against. Everyone else that thinks they can do it for free. And that's not free. That means they're doing in-game monetization. Maybe it's ads. But more interestingly, maybe it's in-game purchases, unlocking levels, maybe it's virtual goods. I mean, if you look at, we happen to be on Facebook, but there's a Facebook app economy which has a lot of parallels to the mobile app space. And look what happened there, right? I mean, the people making money like the Zyngas of the world, it's all virtual goods. There's a serious case to be made that that's where this is going for monetization and mobile apps. So just something to consider.
Okay, so guys, now you guys have figured out a price. There's definitely a lot of interesting topic here because you have to figure out whether you want a price of 99 cents, you want to figure out what are freemium models, in-game purchases, a lot of things to consider. But now once you figure it out and you're ready to launch the game, and I know for Bryan, both Bryan and for Igor, you guys have little challenges. When you first launched the game, you were getting 20 downloads a day, and then I'm kind of curious so basing on all the experiences that you have had so far, what would you recommend a couple of things to all the developers out here today? If you're launching your game, what are the 2 or 3 things that you gotta do to drive buzz, or to get exposure, or advertising, or how do you drive that buzz? And I think that Bryan also talked about, we were talking about private a little bit, about you should maybe do a free to pay model, release a free version and a pay version. So kind of tell me what are the 2 things that you guys would recommend to the rest of the guys out here.
With Geared, it was the first time I had done a couple things. The first time I had advertised one of my apps, and it was the first time I had offered a free version with limited, there's originally 5 levels, and in the full version there was 80 levels. And at the end of completing the 5 levels, it would upsell you and just ask you directly, hey, you completed the game, thanks for playing, would you like to click here? And on that I saw, I couldn't track the sales, but the clicks were in the hundreds of thousands from the free version, which was 1.5 million downloads. And that's a lot of eyes and a lot of people to hook. If there's certain users that might not be willing to pay for something, and maybe ignore marketing or ignore all of the other strategies that you can have, if you can just give away part of your game with the idea that you're upselling to a more complete product or a better product, I think just getting that hook in there, maybe getting them addicted to the game. If you believe in your product, then I think that model works really well, and it worked well for me. And obviously the What's Hot listing, which I don't really know what that's based off of, if it's something that they pick or it's sales based, but I think the visibility of the initial marketing blast, which involved some advertisements on the top, the target audience that I was going for, and PR releases, just trying to get the name out there to as many sites. I didn't do a lot of sending out of promo codes because I figure most of the sites get 100 or 1,000 a day of games, and they're probably just going to test the games that maybe that they've seen in another venue. And I figured that the biggest ad space at the time that I could find that would get the most eyes, I would go with that first and hope that others picked up and it kind of would branch out. I tried creating a Twitter account and following people and hoping they would follow me back and kind of getting, and I mean, compared to the free version in the hundreds of thousands, we were talking, this is in the hundreds or maybe just thousands for Twitter and Facebook. I didn't see a lot of success in building a fan club on Facebook, and that was just my game. I know that with Doodle Jump you have a lot of followers on Facebook, and building the community has been a big part of it.
Well, you kind of lead me to saying something, and I was going to say something else. But I actually have a really good three-part advice on, for everyone who doesn't necessarily have a lot of money or any money to spend on advertising. And, it's actually very questionable how effective advertising is for 99-cent apps. And that's what I'm talking about. You may be in a different space and may be a different advice there. But if you're starting with a small game, you don't have a marketing budget, there are three things you have to do. First, tell everyone about your game. Every single person have them tell everyone about your game. Blogs, write to everyone, right? Secondly, when you do that, be excited about your game or the app or whatever. People are getting hundreds of emails a day about, hey, check this new game out, check this new game out. But you can't be saying, I created this little game, it's fine, check it out, I may have to put in some more work into it. When Apple releases an iPhone, what do they say? This is the best iPhone we have ever built. Of course it is, it's the new one, but if they said, hey, we came up with a new iPhone and it has a new feature, it doesn't ring the same. Same thing with your game. Say how great it is, point out why it's great, and also one thing that really helps is find something that's unique about it, and then use that as a focus. One thing we did with Doodle Jump was that we had from the beginning these score markers in the game, and that was unique. No one else had that, and that was our sort of selling pitch right away. And it raised a couple of eyebrows and got some attention there. And then the third thing is be persistent. Just really follow up with people. If you don't hear back the first time, send them another email. But with one caveat, don't be annoying, all right? So don't send someone 10 emails, hey, you never replied. Have an excuse for sending that next email. For example, we were sending emails to Gizmodo for, anyone and everyone we knew there, but being polite about it, saying, hey, check this game out, it's really cool, it's been picked up, and so on. But we haven't heard back a couple of times, and then I sent them an email again, but not the same one, different email saying, hey, we came up with a new update, it's really cool, check it out. And then a couple of emails later, they wrote a little piece on Gizmodo about Doodle Jump. So I think those are really the three things that if you do them right, you can really promote effectively and not expensively your game and get somewhere. So, but to answer your question about the Facebook, one of the things we did early on was last year I was at a conference here and everyone was talking about Facebook Connect. So I get back home and tell my brother we have to put Facebook Connect. And we'll explode when we do it. So we put it in, nothing. And we were gonna put in Twitter as well. And then we just gave up on the Twitter just because Twitter was smaller, so if Facebook didn't do anything, Twitter is not gonna do anything. But then a couple of months later, we kind of ran out of things to add, so let's put a Twitter in. And I think actually Twitter really helped at that point. But also, with Facebook, the reason why I thought it didn't do anything is because I was expecting a huge spike. But you're sort of starting to build the audience over time, and your audience curve goes like this. So the more you have, the more impact it makes, but it takes the time to get there. Like it took us 3 months to get 1,000 fans on Facebook, but in another 3 months we had 10,000, and then in another 3 months we had 50,000, So now, even though we don't track, so I don't really know what kind of traffic we actually is a part of, people who actually see it on Facebook and buy the app. But I'm sure there is something there. So you have to be in the space, and whether it works or not, it depends on many different things. So.
Thanks, Igor. That's really good insight.